So DJI just released their official trailer for the Avata 2, and they titled it Time to Roll or Let's Go Roll, something of that nature. But in today's video, I'm gonna be specifically talking about the top 3 things I need to see in the Avata 2 in order for me to pull the trigger. So let's get it started. What's going on, guys? This is Eddie, aka Mr. Eddie Nunez. Here with me I have the Avata, the first gen Avata, and we're going to be talking about the top 3 things I need to see on the Avata 2 in order for me to either keep this in my closet, sell it, and upgrade to the Avata 2. Now, leaks is not anything new. I think perhaps we already have all the specs out there based on the leaks, but until DJI releases the Avata 2 on April 11th, leaks are just leaks, and we can only speculate that they may be true. There's a lot of Photoshop happening on the boxes, really terrible Photoshop jobs happening. But as we get closer to the release date, these leaks might actually be true. However, without putting the leaks aside, let's really talk about the Avata 1 current capability, and let's talk about what I want to see in the Avata 2. So starting with the biggest elephant in the room, first and foremost, the Avata 1 camera has been the biggest complaint that I've had on this drone since the day I got it. Don't get me wrong, the Avata does an incredible job filming and getting some great colors. However, you need to be in the most ideal location and have the most ideal settings. So this camera on the Avata 1 kind of suffers from dynamic range. If you are in an area where it's too contrasty, you have a lot of light, it's just gonna blow the highlights and you can't recover it in post. Or if you're in an area or you're transitioning from darker areas to lighter areas, it's just gonna have a really tough time changing exposure or kind of graduating from that underexposed to now overexposed area. Now, the best thing to combat this is shooting in manual settings and making sure that you have an ND filter when appropriate to kind of lock in that exposure. But lighting isn't always equally the same. For example, right here, I am shooting on my Sony A1. This is sort of a controlled environment besides any clouds that may be passing by, bringing in more light, etc. But if I were to turn this camera now and face the opposite way, which is the beach, I'm pretty sure that I'm gonna have to change my settings because it's much brighter over there than it is here. So with the FPV drone, that's exactly what you're doing, especially with the Cine Whoop. You're always flying through areas that's changing constant environment. Now, on the Avata 2, what I do need to see is an improved camera, So we're all hoping for a 1-inch sensor. I don't think we'll see a 1-inch sensor, but we need to have a camera with a better algorithm that's gonna yield better results when exposing for your shot. Not only that, I want to see D-Log-M. This currently only has D-Cine-like. I've been flying it here in Dominican Republic in D-Cine-like, which is the closest I can get to a flat color profile, and doing the best that I can to grade that D-Cine-like without using any LUTs. I feel like D-Cine-like breaks apart with a LUT, and D-Log is much easier to grade with a LUT. Typically, what I do with my Air 3 or my Mavic 3 Pro is just I film in D-Log-M and I slap in a LUT, a conversion LUT. I might do a little tweaks to the curves, maybe a tweaks to the midtones, and then that's it. It's pretty much done. So D-Log-M and an improved camera is the #1 thing I need to see on the Avata 2. Jumping right over to item number 2, that is the goggles. So these goggles, I think, work fantastic. From an image quality perspective, they are a huge upgrade to the first DJI goggles. Even the Goggles V2, I think they were called, that came with the DJI FPV drone, if you remember. Those were exactly identical. And I know that DJI has released the Integras, which are also identical, and they made some slight little changes. But what I do hate about these goggles that came with the Avata 2 is just the fitment of them. The way it fits on my nose bridge is very uncomfortable. I'm always finding myself kind of holding the remote with one hand as I'm flying and doing some adjustments and tweaking, which is very risky when flying in acro manual mode. So I do want to see an improved version of these goggles that fit slightly better on like a normal face. This is specifically made, I think, for the Asian population. Nothing wrong with that. Love my Asians. But, you know, a typical face like mine and this American Spanish nose bridge is just not going to work. I have a really difficult time, a really uncomfortable time putting this on for an extended period of time. And besides, with all the different mounts that you can put, all the different sponges behind, I've tried 3D prints, I've tried things from iFlight, I've tried things from Get FPV. None of it seems to work. In fact, the original DJI foam is actually the best, but it still doesn't alleviate this bottom portion right here at the bottom, which just sits on your nose. Now, if we look at the leaks, and the leaks are any true, there's now something on over your head, which seems to maybe perhaps apply most of the pressure on your forehead. Think about it as like the Vision Pro from Apple. So if that's the new thing now, I think it's gonna fit much more comfortable. However, I hope that they also fix the light leaks, because these have tremendous light leaks on the side, and I actually always have to kind of face towards the sun. That way the behind me is not facing the sun, if that makes any sense, because that's where I get most of my light leaks, is when I have the sun directly behind me. Another thing that I know DJI is obviously going to include, which I'm going to be super happy about, is that with these goggles too, I have to plug in my phone and I have to plug in the battery every single time I got to fly. Now, we all know with the Integras, that's all built in. You got the remote ID chip on the goggles itself, so you don't have to connect your phone in order to arm it. And then also the batteries are already built into the goggles. And I never fly really 3 or 4 packs when I'm flying the Avata. I rarely get to pack number 3. So I'm never gonna run out of batteries on these goggles. Now, moving on to the last thing, number 3, that's gonna make me pull the trigger on the Avata 2, has to be improved flight characteristics. So because these drones are built by and programmed by DJI, there isn't a way that you can tune the drone like your typical FPV drone. So there isn't a Betaflight where you can go and adjust, you know, different tuning on the actual motors and the quad itself on the flight controller. The only thing you can do here is adjust your rates. This Avata I've tuned with some very specific custom rates to kind of make the roll slower. That way I can get some really smooth banking. I've changed the expo, and I think I've nailed it and dialed it in terms of my settings on the Avata 1. But even with those specific settings, I still sort of struggle flying the Avata 1 in specific environments. So for example, I'm not able to quickly punch out because, one, these are pusher style motors or prop style. Also, the motors are extremely small on this Avata 1. And then, you know, wind definitely overpowers the Avata 1, where you hear it screaming to the point that I feel like it's going to drop out of the sky. Now, the Avata 2 is obviously going to be a Cine whoop, and it's going to face the similar issue in terms of wind. However, if they do put larger motors, and if the leaks are true, we have a traditional style motor mount now where it's pushing air up versus down. And I think that should probably alleviate some of the issues that we've been seeing on the Avata 1. So number 3 is definitely improved flight characteristics, improved tuning from DJI itself. That way you get a better flight performance, which is going to yield better videos. It's going to yield buttery smooth video. And now, since I'm on the topic of buttery smooth, I do want to highlight one more thing. So maybe number 4 as a bonus, or if you're watching to this very end here, number 4, what I want to see is 4:3 at 4K. So with the Avata 1, my most recent video, if you go ahead and look, I put a card here. I've been trying to find the perfect video settings. I've noticed that I was getting a lot of warping, and the warping was because I was shooting in 16:9 using gyroflow to stabilize that, and it's just stretching a image that's already wide. So to prevent that, I switched my settings to 4:3. However, on the Avata 1, 4:3 only goes up to 2.7K in resolution, and with the Avata 2, I'm just hoping that they give us 4K at 4:3. I don't really care about the frame rates. It could be 60 frames per second, it could be 50 frames per second. You know, I try to shoot always at 30, but with the Avata, it's very difficult. Anyway, let me not digress. 4:3 at 4K resolution, it's gonna be a winner for me. All right, guys, so that's pretty much it for me today. Avata 2 is coming. I am excited, but I'm not gonna be excited if it doesn't hit those 3 points I made today. Let me know in the comments below. I'll be there answering all of your questions or comments. Are you gonna be picking up the Avata 2 based on what you know today? The release date of the Avata 2 is gonna be any day now, between 1 or 2 days at the time that I'm releasing this video. Yeah, let me know. I'm still looking at those leaks. I can't wait to see the full video from DJI and all the YouTubers such as 51 Drones, Billy Kyle, Ken, Flypath. I'm forgetting people here. That's why I don't like doing this. Who else? DM Productions. My buddy in Bulgaria, Mike Drone Supremacy. So all those guys are going to release fantastic videos. Can't wait to see them. Can't wait to see them in action. And yeah, the only thing we can do now is wait 1 or 2 days, have our wallets ready, and let's see what's in store for us. Until next time, peace.